selection for this series specifically, it's always kind of a thing for you guys, but in this series, because of the Kings' offensive prowess, and they kind of get teams to get into a little bit of a trap meet, taking shots, and it kind of works to their advantage for the teams.
Yeah, I mean, we've always thrived in some chaos, but we've also crossed the line occasionally, and we can't cross the line turning chaos into turnovers, and, mistakes, and bad shots. So it's really important that we're clean and efficient with our possessions. We still want to get up and down the floor and get our best shooters shooting, double-figure three-point attempts and do all the things we've done for years. But against this team in particular, you can't give them any easy stuff the other way because they're tough enough to stop already in the half court.
No problem. How much of a challenge is it when you kind of look at the Kings on tape as far as just the offense? And I know you've talked about Mike and the job that he's done there, but just compared to I mean, offense is up everywhere, but they've kind of took it to another level with what they've done this year. Just how different of a challenge is that for you guys, if at all?
Yeah, they've built a really efficient offense, high-powered offense. And hi, guys. Let's get more people coming in. I thought you guys were just, taking a little vacation before the playoffs started.
Hey, Steve.
Hey. All right, we can start over. No, we were talking about the Kings' offense, and they've built a really great offense, great team. The way they put the puzzle together with Sabonis at the top of the key with all the shooting and the penetration of Fox and Herter and shooting all over the floor. It's really, really tough to handle. There's a reason they've had such a great year, and we're number one in the league in offense and all that. So we know we've got a big challenge ahead.
Steve, do you think this is possible that you're going to see your best version of this team starting the playoffs based on didn't have Andrew for a quarter of the season? How exciting is that you finally get to see your team as whole as they can be?
I mean, we've been trying to get to this point for a long time. We've had an interesting season, to say the least, and but now that we are here, and we've got both Wiggs and Gary. It changes the dynamic of our team athletically, and just the puzzle and how it fits together. And so it's great to at least have a shot, to be where we are and have a chance. This is all we wanted, and we've did a lot of things to persevere in the regular season. I'm proud of our guys for getting to this point, and now we have our opportunity, so we got to make the most of it.
Where is Andrew just physically and mentally in his ability to play? I know you got a couple days before even game one. And, I mean, is there a chance that you would put him right in the starting lineup, or would it be much more likely that he's kind of worked into this?
Well, we're just going to keep an eye on him. We've been watching him, this last week with the scrimmaging. He scrimmaged yesterday and today, and Wiggs is one of those guys who, a little bit like Andre Iguodala, just doesn't seem to ever fall out of shape. He's never seems to get tired. Just thoroughbred. He's so gifted athletically and with the size and the length that he can impact the game in a lot of different ways. But he's really looked good this week, and he's ramping up. The conditioning, and I talked to him today. He said he was a little sore from yesterday, but otherwise feeling good. And so a lot of good positive signs have come out of this past week, and we'll just play it by ear as we get ready for Saturday.
I know they're two different things, but he was out for a significant time early in the season, and then we all saw he didn't, wasn't in rhythm. He didn't look great when he started playing again. there a difference between what you saw then and what you see now, just in his return to action kind of thing?
Well, I think the biggest difference is just the circumstances. The playoffs are different. The prep time is different. The focus is different. I think it was tough for him coming back in the middle of the regular season. He had never really had to do that in his career. He never missed that many games, and it definitely took him some time to find his rhythm. But he looks really good in the scrimmages, and we'll continue to give him more each day, and then we'll get a read on it. We'll see how he looks on Saturday, but we're thrilled to get him back.
Speaking of Andre, how is his wrist rehab going? Might there be a chance, depending on how far you guys go in the postseason, that he could be a part of it?
Andre's a ways off. I mean, it's not even something we're thinking about right now. He's still in a brace and hasn't been able to practice or anything. So I don't know when our next update is for Andre.
Thank you.
Was that right off the top of your head, or did you make that up? Okay.
Great.
Threw something random out. After the Portland game, Draymond was saying how, especially through that 73-9 season, you guys have learned you can't take everything away from just the regular season, right? Things are really made and built in the playoffs. So as you enter this, how much are you taking kind of what happened in the regular season, all of the ups and downs, and then also saying, but again, that doesn't mean that that's who we are in the playoffs. Yeah,
I mean, the way I always look at it is every season is incredibly unique, and that 73-win season was there was no way we were slowing down at any point during that regular season. This time around, I guess, what is it, 7 years later? We've been on this journey for a long time. We've been through an awful lot since that time. Our players are older, so it's a different vibe. And the vibe this year is we're defending champs, but it's taken us a while to get to this point where we have things kind of falling into place. And so I think everybody is in a really good, positive mindset.
Steve, between last year in the playoffs and then looking at the landscape right now, there's so many dynamic guards. When you guys traded for Gary, how much was that in play as well with somebody like a De'Aaron Fox, with his quickness, especially with somebody like GP2?
Yeah, I mean, I think when I look at Gary, I just think, the playoffs last year, we started him against Ja Morant, and then he got injured, and then he was out and missed game one of the finals, and then when he came back in game two, I think we won 4 out of 5 from that point, and he guarded Jaylen Brown quite a bit. And in this series, obviously he'll be on Fox some and Herter some, and he's a weapon. He's one of the best defenders in the league, and winning in the playoffs is all about two-way basketball. Gary's a really unique offensive threat too, just with his ability to play the dunker spot and finish around the basket, knock down a three. He's got a really good feel for playing off of Draymond and Steph. So his addition to the team has just been massive for us, and I think especially going into the postseason where those guys are worth so much.
Steve, you once called Clay's 37-point quarter against the Kings your favorite moment in basketball, and I think you described it as a religious experience. Mm-hmm. Can you reflect a little bit on why you felt what about that atmosphere that night was so electric, and sort of bringing it to the current day, where you think Clay is and how much of a factor he could be in this series?
Well, that night was so unique and special. I mean, nobody had ever done what he did that night in terms of, not only scoring that many points, but the way he did it, just how hot he was, and just the crowd's involvement and the crowd's emotion is what made it so special. The team's emotion, the Steph running up and down the sidelines, and Clay just seemingly, out of his own body, just it's incredible to watch. So that'll always be one of my favorite moments in basketball. And fast forward to now, Clay's had a great year. He's just put together an amazing Hall of Fame career. He's come back from 2 devastating injuries to become a really, really consistent two-way performer night after night again. So testament to Clay and his resilience and work ethic and talent, and I'm lucky to coach him.
Steve, J.K. really broke through with Andrew out over these last couple of weeks. Even with Andrew back, how important is he when you look at what you guys are trying to do defensively with Sacramento's movement, which is obviously fairly similar to what you guys like to do?
Yeah, J.K. is a key player for us. Just his defense and, on-ball defense in particular, his ability to run the floor and create easy baskets, around the rim with his athleticism. And, the playoffs are always very interesting because everything can change from one night to the next. Last year, I don't think he played in game 1 of the Memphis series, and then he started, the next few games. And, things just change dramatically depending on matchups, depending on injuries. So we're going to need everybody, and we've just got to stay ready for whatever comes our way. But J.K. will be a big part of that.
Steve, Steph seems to just be getting better and better as he gets older. What have you noticed, both mentally and physically, from him that has allowed him to just keep improving year after year and maintaining this incredibly elite level?
Well, I think he's such a competitor and so conscientious in terms of his workout routines year round. He understands he's got to continue to look for ways to improve, and at the same time recognize that his body is aging and he may have to streamline his workouts somewhat. And so he's always looking for new information, for new knowledge, anything that can help him get an edge. That's how he's wired. He wants to be the greatest ever. And on top of that, he loves the process. He loves training. He loves preparing, and he's great as a collaborator, whether it's with his trainer Brandon or Rick Celebrini or our coaching staff or his teammates. Steph is an amazing collaborator, and he just is constantly looking for ways to get better.
Steve, given the way that the season started for Draymond, what do you think about the way that he's been able to maybe compartmentalize his emotions and his competitive drive as the season's gone on to now?
Draymond's had a great season. He's proven, I think, why he's one of the best players in the league, why he impacts winning as much as almost anybody out there. He's just so unique as a player. There's nobody like him out there. But what he does defensively, what he does with his brain, the way he attacks defenses when he's playing the pick and roll game with Steph or handling the ball in transition, he's just an incredibly unique, powerful player, and he's had a great season.
Steve, since you found out that you were playing the Kings, have you had a chance to speak with Mike Brown about what this means to both of you, just in how long of the journey that you guys have been on together?
Yeah, we texted, when the matchups came out. And, I think everybody on our building just feels so happy for Mike and strongly about what he did for us while he was here, how much he contributed to our championships here and our culture. And, I learned so much from Mike, and it was just a great partnership. And so we miss him, but we're thrilled that he's had this amazing season. And as I said the other day, I'd be shocked if he didn't win the Coach of the Year award. He deserves it. He and his staff have been incredible. So, and now here we are going against each other. So it's, you express your love for each other, and then, the gloves come off, and you wait until after the series ends to communicate again. So that's how it works.
Steve, how are the playoffs officiated differently? And are those differences welcome? What kind of room is there to play better defense and have a competitive spirit?
I think number one, you're getting the best officials in the playoffs, and so I think the best officials are going to understand that players are going to try to trick them. And in my experience, in the regular season, the players are kind of allowed to trick the refs a little bit more. Some of that is maybe the inexperienced officials aren't ready for that. In the playoffs, you get more experienced refs who are more prepared for that. So there's less of the phantom calls that sometimes you see in the regular season, frankly. And I think, I like it. I think the game is it's a little more physical, but it just feels like you gotta earn everything.
All right, two more quick, and then Loon's ready. CJ and Tim.
Steve, you guys are 13th in fast break points. Sacramento's number 1 in transition defense. How do you see that battle in transition impacting this series?
We just have to be sharper with our decision making against these guys than we were in the regular season against everybody. We turned it over and took bad shots quite often this year in transition, and that's going to be a point of emphasis for us. So just keeping it simple and getting good shots, because they're going to come right back at us.
Have you seen immediate improvement in this team's transition offense since Gary's been healthy and back on the floor?
Yeah. Gary gives us another lob threat, another sprinting threat, getting out ahead of the play and finishing.
One more Mike Brown question, though. 2 games ago, when you're up there, you probably could, if you won that, you knew you were likely to play, or that was the big possibility. It'd be you two guys, Kings and Warriors. Was there any comments about that, or kind of like understanding that this is likely to happen pretty soon?
Mike texted me the night before the game to alert me as to what his plans were, excuse me, as far as sitting guys. And it was a classy gesture. I would do the same thing for him. I think his thinking at that time was he's got to worry about his own team. That's exactly what I would have done, is, gauged my own group, what do they need, and don't worry about the opponent. You can't worry about any of that stuff. That last game of the regular season, the last 2 games are always really interesting. I think I read that 30 different players in the NBA had their career high on Sunday. And so, the last couple of games, it's every man for himself. Like, whatever you have to do to prepare your team for the playoffs, that's what you do. And Mike texted me and said, "Hey, this is what we're going to do," because I got to protect my guys, and he was nice enough to give us the heads up, and then we talked again before the game, and so he shared that. I would have shared it with him, and that's kind of, I think, how it works, especially when you got a good friend on the other side.